Okay, Justin, let's look at your putting stroke. This is in round one before I did any adjustments. Going to compare you to Tiger Woods. Your setup looks very solid, comfortable. You like your arms just hanging right under your shoulders. You've got your elbows slightly tucked. Good grip. Let's look at Tiger's technique first. As he takes it back, makes contact. Very solid, not wristy. His eyes are looking down here as he continues through. His eyes stay down. His eyes stay down. He doesn't start turning. His putter will come to a complete stop here before he looks, and then he'll turn and look. And while he's looking, he'll hold his posture and he'll hold his finish. His putter will stay right where it ended at the end of the stroke. Let's look at your stroke here. Let's look at your stroke here. Go back. Good solid stroke. You're not wristy. Arms and shoulders are stroking, swinging the putter. Get good contact. Eyes are down. And you let your head start to turn and you look before you finish the stroke. Then you turn. So you have just a small head movement. You don't have a drastic one. It's not very severe at all. As I look at your stroke, right there, you do a pretty good job of hitting through the ball. But you do start to turn before the putter itself finishes its movement. And you have a little bit of what we call a recoil where the putter kind of pulls back. So I just want to kind of have you add another layer of sophistication, a higher level, pro level type of finish on the end there. And it'll actually make you a much better putter. You will feel the putt before you try to see the putt. Okay, here we are on the right in round two after we had worked on some of those drills and we worked on the fundamental of putt, hold, look. Okay, as you take it back, as you hit the ball, your eyes are down, keeping the eyes still down. Putter's left the screen. You're holding your finish. And then you turn and look. That is perfect. That is the perfect execution of the fundamental. Now you had to kind of think about it. You're having to monitor it, making sure you do it. But I would like for you to continue to use this method until it becomes really familiar and you own it. That this is the way you putt all the time. That the lifting and looking early is no longer something that you do. What I'm seeing on the right is a great putting stroke. Okay, now we're going to look at your chipping technique. Again, in round one, we didn't adjust your technique. We just videotaped it. And let's look at what you were doing in the beginning of that session. I'm going to compare you to Luke Donald. Okay, you have a pretty good setup. Luke has his feet closer together, but yours are certainly closer than a full swing shot, so that's good. The main thing I want to focus on in looking at your setup is your weight distribution. I've drawn a box from the center of the ankles to the top of the head, and you can see how you're hanging back into the back foot. You have the ball further back in your stance than Luke. For this shot, I would like to see the ball more in the middle of the stance. I like the fact that you have your hands forward and your shaft is leaning, but it actually is a little too much of a shaft lean, and it can cause some inconsistency as the leading edge will dominate when it comes into the ground, and if you're a little bit behind the ball, it'll get stuck and kind of just cut the ground and cause that little, what we call a chili dip type of result. And, you want to go ahead and get the low point of your arc to be in front of the golf ball. And if you put your weight on your back foot, it tends to have that low point toward your right foot. And you want your low point on your left foot. You can see how, if I drew lines up to your knees, from the center of your ankles, kind of vertical there, and you'll find that the pros will have their legs angled, they're almost like they're falling towards the target. So that's in your setup. Then as you take it back, pretty solid backswing. You're stabilized there. Just kind of rocking the shoulders through. Good contact there. Keeping your eyes down. I like the extension in the arms. Very good there. Very good. What you're going to slowly want to add is the lower body moving with the upper body. That upper body movement is almost perfect. That's very good. But what you're going to want to, if you watch Luke's lower body, first of all, you'll see him kind of just fall towards the ball. But not only is he, when you look at his upper body compared to yours, he looks very similar to what you're doing. He does have kind of soft elbows at the end. You'll notice that he has, as he comes through, how that lower body, watch that right knee and right hip. So he's swinging the right side of his lower body with the upper body. He's not stabilizing and locking down the lower body and just swinging the upper body around it. It's an entire body swing. It's a full swing with the body. And so when you get to, basically when your club is in the same position as his, your back leg is still locked down. One other thing I want to talk about is your head movement and your eyes. You'll notice that Luke is letting his head turn with his upper body. With putting, you keep your eyes down until your stroke finishes. But with the short game shots, you don't do that. You go ahead and let your eyes and your chin and your head swivel with the upper body. And so that's the only other thing I would add to your upper body technique. Now on the right is the round 2 of the chipping, where this was after we had done some adjustments and talked about some of the basic fundamentals of feet close together and putting your weight on your left side. Big difference there. That's a dramatic difference. And I know it's uncomfortable because it's new, but you absolutely must keep working with this technique, and your chip shots will get so much better. You'll have much cleaner shots. You also changed your ball position. Now this is a pitching wedge. You went to a pitching wedge on the right instead of the 60. For the little demonstration shot that I had set up for everyone, it doesn't require that 60, the high lofted club. So by learning to use the pitching wedge for a lot of the short shots that we hit around the green, the pitching wedge or a gap wedge, something a little less loft than a 60. But this setup looks really good. You can see how the angle now is towards the target. You're falling towards the target. And what that does is put your low point in front of the ball, allowing you to have a little bit of a 2 or 3 degree angle downward hit so that there's no chance that you'll hit the ground behind the ball. So that's a really good adjustment there. And I like the fact that you're not swaying to the right. You keep solid there. That's much better, much better.
All I would like to see a little bit is a little bit more of the right leg participating a little bit. So I want your lower body to get connected to the other leg a little bit.
first chip didn't have a lot of that lower body turn, having that right hip and right knee turn. And so the second shot, we worked a little bit on that. And you can see now how that right knee and right hip is moving more as you come through. So that was much better than the first. Your first one demonstrated the change in setup and getting your weight more on your left side, feet a little bit closer together, move the ball toward the middle of your stance. But you still were dominant upper body swing. You didn't have that lower body little mini turn in the hips through the shot. You still want to have your hips have a small turn through the shot. And that one was much better on the second one.
When you watch Luke Donald and Tiger and those guys, they're not dead legged. There's a little subtlety with the whole body. Okay, good.
That was even better.
Coming up on the foot or
No, I don't mind the foot coming off. It usually kind of bangs. It kind of leans to the target.
All right, so that's much better. And you had asked, is it all right for the back foot to come off the ground? The answer is absolutely. In fact, in almost all situations, the pros little heel would. They would have moved so much weight on their left side that the right foot, if you kept the right foot flat, that would indicate that you didn't have enough weight leaving the right foot to go to the left. So continue working with that lower body. Your upper body doesn't need help because you're already doing perfect with the upper body. So just practice. Now that you've been introduced to this new type of method, you need to start developing ownership of it. And the only way that can happen is to practice it. So you need to, I'd get one of these little practice tubes. And $9.95 at Las Vegas Golf and Tennis, and get one of these. And when you go play around the golf, go a little bit early and use that opportunity to practice this technique. And your up and downs will get a lot better. You're always going to miss some greens. I don't care how good your approach shot game becomes. You're always going to miss greens. Pros miss greens all the time. They're only hitting 60% of the greens, 65% of the greens, but they're making par 70% of the times of those greens that they miss because they're chipping it close enough to the hole that they can make that first putt.